Good evening, sir. Sir, am I audible?
Yes, you are. You are.
Oh, thank you, sir. So, uh, we can wait for 2 to 3 minutes, sir, while the people are joining.
Yes, sure.
Sir, meanwhile, I introduce. So, today we have the esteemed speaker, Professor Kurhekar, to introduce the esteemed speaker of the FDP. Today, the fourth day of the FDP, we have with us Professor Manish Kurhekar. He is currently shouldering the responsibility of as a associate professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering at VNIT Nagpur. Professor Kurhekar has worked with the industry about 11 years as a software developer, and more than a decade he earned the teaching administration experience where sir the teaching experience of Professor Kurhekar includes the theoretical computer science, system biology, bioinformation, informatics, and machine learning. Professor Kurhekar obtained his PhD degree from VNIT Nagpur, graduated from post graduation from IIT Bombay, and graduation from VNIT Nagpur itself. And sir is also as a good researcher. As of now, sir published more than 40 journal reputed conference, including conference and publication, 3 patent in his name, and 2 IBM research reports he has done. He also have the technical manage small and medium industry projects. So without further delay, I would like to invite Professor Kurhekar, sir. Sir, namaskar. Over to you, sir. Sir, you are muted, sir.
Oh, yeah. Namaskar. Namaskar. So,
So,
thank you very much for this kind introduction. And I look forward to the interaction with students. Before I start, if there are any things that students want to know, um, or, what do they expect from this talk, if they can tell me, I will
sir, is there any network issue?
something, then I will focus more on that. Any idea?
Sir, is
I will switch off my.
sir, is there any network?
No problem. So I will. Yeah, yeah,
Sir,
yeah.
is there any network
Kumar,
issue at
yeah,
your end?
please.
Actually, your voice is.
Voice is breaking. Okay, let me check. Give me a moment. Is it okay now?
Yes, sir. It is now voice is good. Yes.
Okay,
So,
okay.
sir,
So I
basically,
was
there are student as well as faculty around nearby places, Dehradun and Uttarakhand. So, faculty is also there, sir.
okay.
So, yes, sir.
Yes.
Please
So I
continue.
just wanted to know if there is anything that anyone wants to discuss, talk before I start my. So anything that you want to know, so that my I can focus my presentation around that area, that topic.
Any
So anything that
specific
anyone wants.
request? Nitesh? Nitesh is there?
Good evening, sir. Mm,
Yes, sure.
uh, Sir, I am the scholar of rural technology in Central University,
Yes.
Gadwal, and we are working
Mm-hmm.
on post-harvest losses of the hot Gadwal region. Uh, so, sir,
Okay.
as today's topic is digital transformation in agriculture, uh,
Mm-hmm.
we want to means sir we want to know that ki how to minimize the loss in post harvest horticulture crops like Uttarakhand or Himachal Pradesh have apple orchards and different types of other fruit crops perishable. So
Okay.
how we can achieve the minimize the loss in the through the digital transformation.
Okay. I will focus on that. One topic that I will touch base on. Okay.
Okay,
Uh,
so this is from my side, sir. Thank you, sir.
yeah. Anyone else?
Yeah, any other? Gaurav, Parul, Shamal. Sir, it would be better if we can also talk about like can be it's but I guess it would be really indeed because many times the farmer may not be much educated and they how they will come to know that their registration over for the mandi platform and all that Kishan some portal is there, sir, for selling their
Yeah,
crops and
actually, there are many now.
yes, yes, sir,
Some private also are there, and some government funded also are there.
yes, sir.
Okay.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Okay. So yeah. So should we start now?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay. Is my slide? Are my slides visible?
Yes, sir. It is visible. Please continue, sir.
Okay. Fine. Okay. Yeah. So thanks for the kind introduction, Kishan Kumar sir.
Welcome, sir.
And I am Manish Kurhekar. I am associate professor here in VNIT Nagpur. And I will be talking today. Today's topic is basically digital transformation in agriculture. Why it is important? So first thing is that uh, India still around 40 to 50% Indians depend on agriculture or allied activities. By allied activities, I mean that it might be storage, port, it might be reseller, it might be basically making value-added products like jellies and jams. So there is a host of things that people do with the agricultural produce, and it might be even research uh, in this agricultural sector. So around 40 to 50%, which is a huge number of people, depend on this agriculture or similar different activities. What we have is we have a lot of food grain and uh, as we said horticulture produce, but yet there is high wastage. That is another thing. Let me finish this slide, then I'll talk very specific things. 80% of the population is living in rural areas. Yeah, that is, living in rural areas depends on the agriculture production. So around 40 to 50% Indians depend on agriculture, but that is disproportionately large in rural areas. And there is urgent need to diversify agriculture to address emerging food demands and habits and dietary problems. So I don't know if you are aware, this next year, 2023, is the year of millets. And millets basically are ragi, bajri, jowar, and many other such things. So, this millets are the another thing. Need for climate smart agricultural technologies to tackle climate change issues. So climate is changing, that everyone agrees upon. Though it has been changing for every time. We had a lot of ice ages, and we had a lot of warm weathers, and so a lot of such things have happened to Earth. Has never been stable. It is still changing. So how do we basically maintain the same amount of output of agriculture, or even better, climate change, and opportunities to improve productivity along the value chain? So value chain is basically from farm to fork. So what all things that go into what all the things that go into this agricultural produce till you get to the fork is basically the value chain, and how to improve the productivity of that. Obviously, there is increased presence of private sector in both input and output markets, and there is need to produce both economically efficient and environmentally friendly technologies to tap the opportunities for export. Okay, we'll get to one by one problems. So that I have finished this first slide. Now I will talk about the specific things. IT or digitization of agriculture is happening, and this is happening at various levels. And what we are seeing is that digitization, there is a rapid change in agriculture. So why digitization is required? The problems that are faced. Okay, so this is basically the problems that are typically faced, and these problems are faced, and there are digital tools that can predict what changes, what to do, and so on. Go into this list. Let me talk about the post harvest thing. So what has happened is that typically the focus of Indian agricultural research has been in the initial stages, like providing better seeds, increase the crop yield by providing fertilizers. So how to use fertilizers, then crops should not be wasted, so you need to use herbicides or pesticides so that unwanted plants don't grow around, or the insects don't damage the crop. So that has happened, and we have been having a bounty full of crops. Food improvement in the yield has increased. But what happens is after the crop is harvested, especially it happens with fruits and vegetables, their shelf life is slightly less compared to the food grains. So food grains, when they are dried, or jawar or bajra or rice, be nice for a year or so, or 2 years or so. Nothing happens to them if they are properly dried and properly packaged and so on. That is not true with these perishable items. So especially the vegetables get perished in a day or two, and the fruits have a shelf life of around a week or so. And the most problematic thing is that these get damaged visually while transporting. So what we have observed is that when we transport any fruits, right, so there is some dent that happens on its skin, or some spot gets placed, or a small piece of a skin gets peeled off at some place.
But then when it basically damages the visual appeal of that, and that apple red, it's red on all sides, but a small piece of that red patch is peeled because it was while placing in the cardboard container. That cardboard basically hit the cardboard patch actually hit the apple, and a small piece has been peeled out. But then nobody will purchase that apple. Even you will not eat such an apple. So the thing is that a lot of these horticulture losses actually happen first at the place where the packaging is done. And because packaging is so these are all very fragile kind of material, so you can't basically throw them around or mix them up and so on. But what happens when you want to take them to the mandi, you are basically transporting not 1 kg or 2 kg, which you can very well do, but you are transporting in thousands. And when you're transporting in thousands, then you just put them inside the truck and transport it to the, because packaging, if you package everything individually, it becomes very costly business, because you have to have that much packaging material and that much manpower to package it properly. So that special treatment is basically done for crops which are very costly, and which basically can fetch can afford such revenues. So for example, the Alfonso mango, okay, or the grapes, which are very costly, or the apples from Himachal, and you see that these are special crops that for them you do polishing, and then wax polishing is done for apples, and then they are placed nicely so that the shelf life increases, and so on and so forth. And then they are transported so that they are placed apart, away from each other, so that they don't hit each other while transporting, and so on. Agricultural losses are mainly because the packaging is a big problem. And how to do packaging, how so that the produce survive for long distance travel. They don't get blemishes, they don't get peeled off skin. If they have a visual appeal, they look fresh and nice, is a challenge in Indian conditions. And that is the reason we are seeing a lot of losses in horticulture. It is claimed that almost 50% of the horticulture produce, or even 60%, gets damaged, because by the time from the farm to the fork, lot of things happen, and either it becomes unedible, or it becomes stale, its visual appeal, or it just gets mashed up, and so on. So I'm touching that point on horticulture thing. So one of the things is basically, how do you automate the packaging? Is it possible to automate the packaging? So what we are seeing in many of the industries which produce materials, right? The packaging is more or less automatic, right? You see this Lay's potato chips. You must have seen those plants also. So you wash the potatoes, you slice it, then they are dried, and then they are salted, and then they are fried, and then they're packaged. Everything happens in one machine, which does all those things. Right? Similar thing, but for horticulture produce. And now there are 2-3 startups that have come up. They're mostly located in Bangalore and Hyderabad as of now, which are trying to do certain of these things. Farmers from our region, like Nagpur region, which is famous for oranges, they have purchased these machines. And what these machines do is that on one end you put oranges, basically sorts the oranges by taking photos. Okay, so first thing is that each of these orange, a photograph is taken through a neural network, and this neural network then basically identifies three things. One is the size, okay, that gives us the approximate weight. Second is by looking at the reflection, it tries to identify the age of that crop. So very fresh, like picked up today, or in a it is just 1 or 2 days old, or it is like a week old or something like that. And third thing is try to identify the visual appeal. That is, are there any blemishes? Are there any skin peel? Or are there anything? And depending on that, it basically sorts the oranges. So you have best quality, you have medium quality, you have low quality, and that the person who is operating this machine can set the parameters as well. Okay, so on one end you put in the oranges, then it first washes the oranges. That's the second part. It dries it. Fourth part, it takes very close images and sends it to the server. And that server then basically takes a decision whether it is a good quality, medium quality, or low quality. A gate opens, and that gate basically pushes the orange into the high quality basket, medium quality basket, or low quality basket. Okay. And then obviously for high quality produce, you can do special treatment, that you can employ laborers who will basically pick it up, put it in good packages, and they can be basically made for export. And then medium quality and low quality, you can basically decide whether it's good for human consumption, or should it be an animal feed, or should it go into the process industry, like they're making jams and pickles and so on and so forth. The industry doesn't care about whether the skin is basically slightly peeled here or there. Finally, taste matters. If they are okay with the taste, for the industry is not that important. It is very much important. Okay, so such kind of, we can say, such things are coming up, and that basically there are many startups in Bangalore, Hyderabad area which are trying to attempt this. Okay, this is a very simple idea if you see, for that matter. But then that allows you to decide which of the produce you want to spend amount on. You want to spend to good packaging, to employ labor. Okay, because you know that even after doing that, the amount, the produce that you will sell, you will still make profit. Okay, so that is one. So that is the one thing about horticulture that we have been witnessing here, and we are seeing this, and the same thing can be applied to any other crop. And I will share that the company link with Krishan Kumar sir, and if anybody is interested, you can have look at what they are doing. So this is about the basic idea on post harvest. But let us look at other risks that agriculture has, and how ICT, the different computer technologies, can help mitigate those risks. Basically, you have the production risk, in the sense that will have a produce. If you have the produce, whether it will be of good quality. If you have the produce of good quality, whether it will be of adequate quantity. So this is basically the production, right? So a lot of things can make this production a very difficult business, because the land holdings of Indian farmers tend to be very small. They can't invest like the corporates can do. And so there are many companies which are coming forward, which are trying to in a structure where a lot of farmers can join together, and they can have a combined kind of a farm, and each farmer gets basically the amount that is proportionate to his land, from the profit that is proportionate to his land holding. So for example, if there is a 100-acre land pooling, 5 acres in that, so he will get 5% of the profit. Things are coming up, and there are many progressive farmers, especially in the Punjab and Haryana region, where large scale farming is happening, which is basically mitigating the labor and knowledge problems. Large holdings, then you can spend on having one agriculture graduate, say MSc agriculture, or a person who has knowledge about agriculture on the farm, who can basically is knowledgeable about the whole process and also knows when to intervene, or when things are going bad, and how to basically take precautionary measures. So weather plays a major spoil sport, and many a times, and sometimes if you don't have rains, sometimes you have, like this year in central India and western India, there were in southern India, western India, central India, there were too much rain. Crop was damaged because of lot of rains. Okay, and there was flood situations at different places. Whereas in eastern and western UP, basically the UP in general, and some parts of Haryana, Punjab, there was a drought-like situation for a long time, and rains did not appear till July end, August beginning. And the first sowing, second sowing, which happened in June, July, that whole sowing, so there were wilted crops that came out, and then it has to be abandoned and the field has to be prepared again. Happened in the UP, Haryana, UP, Rajasthan, North Rajasthan, Delhi, Punjab belt, and because there was no rain and there was too much rain in this other parts of the India. So you see that weather may not be playing the role it has to play. It might concentrate on something some days. Sometimes it might be flooded, sometimes it might be open. So weather plays a big role. And what is happening is that there are a lot of now satellite imagery kind of things. So weather.com, or an Indian startup is there that is called as skymet.com. So skymet and even IMD, it is Indian Meteorological Department, they give a lot of agro advice. And IMD and many of the institutes, especially IIT Hyderabad, has tied up to figure out algorithm which says that if it has rained more than 20%, for example, if it has rained more than 20% this week, and there is a forecast of normal rain for next week, then, and if it is the July season, then sow the peanut seeds. Okay, otherwise sow the cotton seeds. Okay, so which seeds to sow depending on the climate patterns, when to water the plants, it might depend on, so the algorithm depends on the current humidity content in the soil, the weather, how much it has rained week, what is the prediction for the next week rainfall. All these 3-4 parameters are taken into consideration and an advisory is given, and all the farmers receive in that area. So the phones are also geographically zoned, and in that area, say Tumkur district, you will say that you will give an advisory that you sow rice. In the adjacent Madikere district, you might say that you sow the wheat and so on. So depending on the local things, a lot of these advisories are auto-generated, and they can be sent to the mobile phones as SMS. And so this is trying to basically address the weather factor. Once that is done, the labor is something that the farmer has to take care of. Then for quality inputs, okay, the seeds and fertilizers, a lot of things that are happening. And for example, the agricultural ministry is currently having a hackathon, which basically is trying to have a tracing of seeds from the place it is generated, the place it is transported, the place it is sold, and the place it is used over a blockchain, so that the in between data that is put on that blockchain is not tampered with. So there is a traceability of seeds. So the seeds, where it was purchased, what was the quality, when it was done, when the quality testing was done, which lab it was done in, which people have sold it, it passed through which hands, finally which farmer purchased those seeds, and so there is entire this traceability uh, done by the Ministry of Agriculture, and currently the hackathon is on, and people who are interested can participate in, especially the students can participate in that hackathon, contribute your ideas and your code to the nation, so that the traceability of seeds is maintained. And so that is one. And recently the Honorable Prime Minister of India has talked about the fertilizer. So in whole of India, there will be only one brand fertilizers that will be available, and so that is the Bharat brand that has been proposed. I think so. Correct me if I'm wrong. But the fertilizer business is getting standardized, and interestingly, potash or potassium. So potash is the ash of potassium. Okay, so in a sense that it is oxidized form of potassium. That cannot be obtained naturally, in the sense that there are no way to obtain it. But what is happening is that that has to be imported from various. Basically, Chile is the country which has a lot of potassium deposits, like potash deposits. So they mostly it is imported from there, and then it is processed, and then along with urea and other things, and then basically it is distributed like NPK. You know that, right? So nitrogen and so potassium is kalium K, right? So nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So potassium is a very difficult thing, and potash is a very difficult thing to obtain. What happens when you burn the stubble, okay, is that the carbon and nitrogen from the parali that you call, right? So that gets burned away, but the potassium stays back. Ash typically is alkaline, and that improves the pH of the soil. And when you mix that ash with the soil, the next crop is better because it already has the potash and other minerals. The minerals are heavy; they don't go away in the air. Carbon, soot, and nitrogen oxide, nitrogen dioxide will go away, but the nitrogen will go away, carbon will go away, will settle down. And these are basically this ash is potassium, calcium rich, phosphorus rich, and that will be around, and that will enrich the soil. This practice of burning the crop and mixing it with soil is one of the things that, because of which currently you are seeing pollution in Delhi, and so it is a very sensitive topic. It is a very political topic as well. We don't want to get into this, but what I'm trying to say is that this practice, we need to study why this practice happens. Okay? It doesn't happen just because of that. Any practice that the farmers are doing year on year is because there is some benefit to that. To get the same benefit but without harming the environment. Is there a way that we can do modeling simulation where the air is modeled, these chemicals are modeled, and then we decide, then we do some kind of analysis and find out a better way to manage all these things. Okay, so this simulation modeling area is completely open, and so that is another factor, though it is not mentioned here, but that is one of the factors that is also an important factor to consider. Okay. Then we come to post-harvest risks. So here, India loses about 1/3 farm produce for want of quality storage. Okay, so currently India is building a lot of cold chains. There is a cold storage, and from that cold storage to another cold storage, there is a truck which is also refrigerated. Okay, so a truck will transport from one to another cold storage, and we are building a massive amount of cold storage now. Problem should go away in next 4 to 5 years, or at least it should reduce in. So this 1/3 thing will reduce to like 2 to 3%. It should reduce to that. So currently it is 33%, we can say, or roughly around that. So that should come down to in single digits, 1 to 5%, because lot of cold storage is being, and there are a lot of incentives being given. Land is given at a cheaper rate, credit is given at a cheaper rate, and so cold storage are coming up very fast. Here now the onion prices were rising, and lot of like every day some 5,000 tons of onions were released by NAFED. Okay, so you see that these onions were stored in cold storage. So there are huge cold storages now, where you can basically store this material, and then whenever there is huge price discrepancy, you can basically intervene and control that. Okay, so that is happening, and but basically lot of the produce, especially the horticulture produce, the fruits and vegetables kind of thing, that is still needs to be taken care of. And packaging, good quality packaging, cheaper packaging, biodegradable packaging, easier to handle, dispose, use, that kind of packaging has to be developed, and somebody needs to think about it. Okay, so it's not just IT, but also other things also. So you can think of a best way to do by using again simulation. Okay, you can find out what kind of storage can be required, how much heat loss it might have, okay, how much humidity it will have, and then you can simulate the effect of those heat, simulate humidity, sunlight, storage, okay, and all those things you can simulate and find out what happens. Let's say if you are collecting apples, what happens to the apple, say in 3 days or 5 days or 7 days, and so on. A lot of simulation here can help to design a good storage packaging strategy. Okay. Then of course we come to market risk. Though nowadays mandi prices are available online, okay, and then there is also futures market for the commodity that is called as the commodity futures market. So like MCX, multi commodity exchange. So a lot of such markets are available, and of course a person who can do data analysis, what would be the best time to sell or buy in these markets. They can find the patterns, and they can predict how much volumes each buyer or seller is putting in, to find out the discrepancy, like kahan pe shortage hoga, the glut, where there will be a shortage, and all those things can be found out. Like you do in share market trading, you can do the similar kind of things in commodity markets. But then, is it available or accessible to the end farmer? The answer is no, because that is completely non-transparent thing. It is very complex as well. Even the derivatives that are on commodity exchange are very, very difficult to understand. Okay, options and futures and the way it is handled and so on. It's even for an engineering graduate who has done mathematics all through his life, they also find it very difficult to understand that terms, those topics, and that's the reason we see that the information that is basically having an asymmetry. So the merchants, the people who deal on the sales side only, okay, for them commodity gets produced in the trucks that arrive in the mandi, to just sell it from there to other places. For them, the weather has not mattered, the labor, the knowledge about this, that has not mattered much. They are only looking at money part of it. They have the money information, which typically, or monetary information, which typically is not available with the farmers. Okay, they have the future outlook, which is not available with the farmers. And because of this information asymmetry, they can actually they can basically make and basically the money is constant, like in the sense that if it is going to sell at 100 rupees and someone is pocketing a more share of that, then someone else will get a less share of that, right? At the end is going to be constant for that commodity. And so if someone is pocketing a more share, then someone else will get less share. And what is happening is that these middlemen typically tend to get more share because they have information. And that is, so there are many ICT technologies that are coming up, which are trying to eliminate the middleman, trying to connect direct farmers with the consumers. Okay. And this is happening, especially today, it is happening with high, low volume, high price business. So for example, if you take, you can order currently Alfonso mangoes, okay, because they are costly and they can be packaged well, imported by any courier. Similarly, you can order ghee, right, which is again a very, depending on the volume, it is very costly. Per gram cost is very high, right? So you see that such things which have per gram cost is on the higher side, right? Those commodities are there are many firms online, and they basically make you available on your plate, right? So such things are happening. A few days back, Zomato had uh, this overnight service. Okay, two things. So Agra ka petha was one. Then Kolkata ka rasgulla was another. Then Rajasthan ka, I think I don't remember that dish, but yeah, so I don't remember the name. But from Bangalore it was Mysore Pak, and so they had a few delicacies and from each part of India, and then when you order that, that will be available to you through cold chain within 24 hours. Okay, any part of India. Okay, not any part of India. They had piloted in few cities, so Delhi, Pune, Bombay, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Delhi. So in this, if you are residing in this city, then you get that overnight. So you see that a step is being made where direct connections with the consumer and the producer is being made, and then the location boundaries are getting erased slowly. And slowly happen with other producers as well. When this is perfected, there is some experience which is gained, and then they find out the loopholes, they find out where the time is being spent, they find out where more money is being spent, and they iron out those things, they optimize those things, and slowly you'll see that a lot of horticultural produce can also get transport overnight to end customer, and that day is not far, maybe 3-4 years down the line we'll see that we will be able to get uh, same in Nagpur, direct delivery of apples from Himachal Pradesh, overnight delivery. Okay, so such things are going to happen, and uh, so uh, this asymmetry will go away as more and more technology tries to eliminate the middleman. Okay, so it's the same thing happens with share broking. Okay, during like 90s, online thing was not possible. That time the share broker used to make 1% of the money that you invest. So if you want to buy HDFC shares for 100 rupees, 1 rupee, and buy the shares for 99 rupees. Okay, now the brokerage firms like Sher Khan or Zerodha and Upstock and others basically charge you just 1 paisa or sometimes even 0 paisa. Okay, so if you go through their platform, you are charged 1 paisa for, right, or 2 paisa for 100 rupees, right? So which is far less than the 1 rupee that was charged earlier. And if you see percentage wise, it is 99% discount has happened, 98% discount has happened to the brokerage that used to get charged. And that is why, because that asymmetry is getting removed due to the technologies. This is happening. Then access to markets is due to high transportation costs. Costs are getting reduced because the road infrastructures are improving every day, and because of that, even smaller vehicles can travel larger distances. Electric vehicles which have a distance which can run for a distance of 100 kilometers. So let's say if you are in a rural area 50 kilometers away from Dehradun, say 50-60 kilometers away from, say, a place like Chandigarh, you can go to the city and you can sell your produce by going through your own electric vehicle. Electric vehicle will cost you 50 paise per kilometer. So going there and coming back will cost you hardly 100 rupees, which is okay if you are able to transport a material of, say, even say 5,000 rupees, right? And 5,000 rupees horticulture material will fit in a small electric rickshaw as well. Such things are going to happen. and access to markets are improving, and is getting better and better, and electric vehicles are getting better and better. There are electric charging points that are coming up everywhere to change the way transportation happens and access to markets happen. Then what it matters is that you want to get local information on where the markets are, which day the markets are, in which place the markets are, and so on. And that will reduce the next thing, that is price volatility. So typically the prices which go very high or very low, they only benefit the speculators. So someone who buys one truck immediately and sells it on the next day. So those people who are not, who don't want to sell, but just to make money by just going by the market risk part, is a lot of things are happening in this area. There is change in infrastructure, change in the way markets are organized, change in the way transportation is organized, change in the way people are connecting with each other in this area, and making a lot of things available easier for this. And last thing, that is ecological risk. That is something that needs to be worried about. So there is a limited land, and this land is getting degraded. Why it is getting degraded is because the life content, the carbon content, the nitrogen content of the soil, and because of which external fertilizers, okay, external feeding to the plant rather than plant taking it from the soil. Okay, what fertilizers are actually doing is improving the nitrogen, phosphorus, and carbon content of the soil. Okay, but then when we actually take out the produce, we take only a small portion of the plant, right? Whether it is seeds, whether it is fruits, and so on. But then large parts of it are burned or are discarded and so on. So that somehow we need to have technologies which can use it. So one of the initiatives that Government of India has taken is basically, so why millets? So millets basically have 2-3 things which are very good, which make them very good. The first thing is that they have low carbohydrates and high fiber. So a lot of Indians are going through what we call as the lifestyle diseases. So these lifestyle diseases are not the diseases that are happening because some external entity invades your body, right? So we see that malaria or typhoid or such things are happening because COVID, for that matter, some virus or some bacteria has come inside your body and is occupied your body completely and taken over its control, and then your body is now shaking and temperature is rising and so on and so forth. A lot of things are happening. Then you have nice drugs which you take, medicines you take, and you are cured. Systematic diseases are basically the diabetes, the high blood pressure, right? Dementia, kidney diseases like kidney stone, then varicose veins, then thyroid problems, then sleeplessness, then depression. And I can go on and on and on. These are not because of something else in invading you. The way you live your life, your thoughts, your exercise patterns, your sleep patterns, your eating patterns, and so on. So diabetes and hypertension are very much linked to the way you eat. And most of the things that nowadays Indians eat are prepared foods which are high in carbohydrates, they have, and or fats, but low in fiber. Okay, because of which the stomach is completely upset, and because of which this lifestyle diseases happen. And millets are the ones which have very low fat carbohydrates, but which are rich in fiber and rich in the way minerals also, like micro minerals. So millets use is recommended. It will improve the health. Because there is less fat and less carbohydrates, they don't taste that good. Roti will not taste as maide ki roti or gehu ki roti. But then it is very good for your health. In the long run, it will improve you. That is one part. The second part is that the millets are basically climate resistant. So they can grow with more water, they can grow with less water, they can grow with more sunlight, they can grow with less sunlight. Sturdy and very rigid crops. Okay, and typically so for example, wheat is a very finicky crop. The moment the temperature rises a little bit, wheat happens typically in winters. If the temperature is slightly more, like the one that happened last year in Punjab, the entire wheat crop was having very small grains. Fetch the price. So wheat is very finicky. It is very sensitive to the weather patterns, and but then these crops are very much weather resistant. Whatever you do, most of the time they will survive. That brings us to the third thing, that is limited water. Because now they can live the way they want, whatever way the weather or water or what fertilizer or whatever. You require less fertilizer. Your most of the imports will get reduced if you use fertilizers. Potash is all imported, and that import bill will come down if you use millets. Okay, so millets are being pushed. It is good for economy in terms of import export. It is good for the farmers because they are sturdy. The chance of loss is less. They are good for human health because they basically arrest the development of the human diseases, that is lifestyle diseases like diabetes and hypertension. So it's a win-win situation for all. So why are we not eating it? Because it doesn't taste good, or it doesn't taste that well. So Indian government is trying to bring this millets and basically organizing competitions with hotel owners to have one dish in each hotel, which is basically labeled as millet dish. And so a lot of things are happening on the government front. Hopefully we'll see some tasty dishes which are also made from millets. Protein, they are rich in fiber, uh, they are very less in carbohydrates, they are less in fats, and so win-win for all. So let's see. So but that basically reduces the ecological risk. To those things which reduce the ecological risk, and again modeling and simulation here, crop patterns change the way agriculture happens. How if a lot of people start eating millets, right, which are now called as superfoods for that matter, and the prices of jowar is more than price of wheat as of now, because again this fad of being a super crop and now eat millets and so on, that is happening. So how that whole thing can be done, modeling can be done and simulation can be done, can be figured out, or you can have social media campaigns, uh, and awareness can be made, and the ecological risk can be addressed. Okay, so yeah, so I think we have 1 hour down the line, and I would like to take a 2 minutes break. If there are any questions, you can ask me now, or you prepare those questions. Let me take a 2 minutes break. Come. So 2 minutes break, and then will join again. Okay, welcome back. So yeah, so any questions? Anything that you want to discuss, talk, ask, inform?
Hello, sir. I'm
Yes.
Nitesh. Sir, as you are talking about the millet and the first day speaker, Professor Salwan was also talking about the millet and how government is promoting it. Sir,
Yes.
but in millet, there are no such digital technologies are using like apple farming. Apple farming is now very technology-based farming. So I want to know what are these digital techniques we can use in millet farming, and how we can connect it to ICT. Hello, sir.
Okay. So yeah. So thank you for the question. So the thing is that this millet thing is the new kid on the block, but that is basically currently being, the focus is mostly on to get the farmers start using this millets and other things. But then ICT has a lot of things to do with millets. Okay, so first thing is that obviously one of the challenges that millets have is basically addressing the taste palette of Indians. So typically, if you see the Indian food, that the food that typically Indians like is rich in oil, fats, carbohydrates, and so on. And one of the major challenge is to prepare those dishes which are not bland, which are tasty, and which have a nice uh, we can say a flavor. And a lot of efforts are actually being done, which are basically done as part of the cloud kitchens. I don't know if you have heard about these cloud kitchens. So cloud kitchens are kitchens uh, where you have a centralized place, and that place caters, like prepares a lot of dishes, foods, and those food then can be branded by anything. In the sense that, let's say I am, say, restaurant XYZ, but I have this XYZ as only a front end. Okay, in the back it is prepared by the same team which also prepares for restaurant ABC. Okay, and whenever there is an order from restaurant XYZ, the food is prepared and it is packed in the box of XYZ. Okay, and then it is delivered. So these cloud kitchens are typically again completely ICT based, in the sense that the way they are managed, the logistic is managed, the food is managed, materials are managed, everything is basically done by using data analytics. Okay, so now the first thing is that there are a lot of this what we call as basic stuff which can be made for millets. So there is a group. So Saturday, Sachin Mandavane sir, who is also from VNIT, will talk more about it because his team is doing it. But I'm just giving a gist. So what they are trying to do is that they are trying to come up with what we call as a mixture or a masala, which is basically grounded from different millets, mixed in proper proportion, and then that can be given to different cloud kitchens dish that they want from the millets. Okay, so ICT can work wonders in post harvest. The millets are very sturdy, require as much caring as it is required for other crops. Done. Okay, once that is done,
Yes,
then
sir.
after that you can actually do a lot of post harvesting using ICT. So one thing is basically catering to cloud kitchens. Second thing is basically so there are many of these utilities which, when you take a picture of a food, they tell how much approximate oil, approximate fats, approximate proteins are there. So these tools are getting standardized and they are getting utilized quite often. And there is uh, another team of people who actually take food samples from different places, and then they put it through a lot of these chemical reactors and find out how much fat, how much is there, how much proteins and how much other things are there in content in that food. And now what you do is that you take a picture of that, you match your catalog, find the closest thing, okay, and then predict that this food probably has 20% fat, 30% carbohydrates, 2% proteins, and this much fiber, and this much that, and that much that. Okay, so that is again is something that can be done for millets, and that will be a big thing, because people who are kind of very much aware of their food habits, and that is happening uh, very much with increase in the standard of living. So you see the IT professionals in Bangalore or Pune or Hyderabad or Noida and all, they are very much aware about what they are eating, how much they are eating, what quality they are eating, how much quantity they are eating. And there you can, if you can give this snap, and then they can see that there is high fiber content, there is high protein content, then instead of taking that protein eggs or other things, they might just eat things that are basically millet based. And this has to happen through lot of ICT things are there, where this post production, lot of possibilities, like these are all low hanging fruits, and building a brand around it, building a professional delivery mechanism around it, building finding out how to market it, how to digitally, how to basically do this from photo, finding out how much fiber, how much proteins, how much oil, how much fat, how much carbohydrates are there. So these all things can be considered as ICT, though they are not directly with agriculture, related with directly with agriculture, but definitely the end user is using agricultural produce for that. The input is agricultural produce. And this is one thing that I see is not happening. And if you go to Australia or any other place, you'll see that you can actually take the photograph of that dish, and these dishes are calibrated, they're standardized, and you can find out how much fat, protein, other things are there. Same happens in Europe, same happens in US. So this has not happened with Indian dishes so far. Not far when we will have such things available as well. And if you see the futuristic thing, then millets, though currently we are just focusing more on how to produce more so that more people can consume, how to make some basic dishes, some basic things. But I think once that hurdle is passed, this first starting trouble is gone, then ICT will come into picture. Next 3, 5, 4 years are important for that. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So let me skip this. Yeah. So this is basically that we have talked about. That is
Yeah,
the
Gaurav.
ICT.
Gaurav, any question? Sir, Gaurav may have some question.
Sir, I'm having
Yeah.
a
Okay.
sir. I was just wondering that as we had discussed all the tools which is related to agriculture. So, are you also referring the livestock when we are talking about agriculture?
Livestock is a important thing. Okay. Though currently it is not. I'm not focusing on that. But livestock is the important thing, and there is again. Okay. Let me talk about that then. So basically, livestock. Again, Sachin sir will talk about it more. I am working with his team Friday, but let me give a glimpse of what we are doing. So we are working typically currently with the cows. Okay. So cow has a very interesting thing, because whenever a cow is pregnant, from that to it has a calf. After it has a calf, it has a milking period, and the farmer gets maximum money when the cow is milking.
Okay, otherwise it's a cost. When the cow is milking, it is basically a profit. Okay, so now the thing is that how do you maximize the profit? Okay, so when a cow can become pregnant, when it is pregnant, when it is giving a birth, when it is milking, so all of these things can be captured using the temperatures of the ear. So ear is very sensitive, and if you put one device which will just capture temperature or the movement of the cow, okay, how much excited or how much movement it has. So what we have done is that we have put a sensor in the ear, we have put a sensor in the neck, and we have connected those to a central server where we get the sensor identity from which we can identify which cow is moving or which cow's temperature is that. And that also allows us to predict if the cow is sick. If the cow is sick, the temperatures change. Okay, so which cycle the cow is, what whether it is diseased or non-diseased. Okay, so those all things get captured, and that data comes there. We capture it once in 15 minutes, so lot of battery is not required. We can do with a small battery. Typically the battery that is put in say a car remote, right, or a handheld watch, at a bigger size battery, but say around 30 grams or so, that much battery is good enough. So that device can hang on the ear, and that gives us a lot of data, and that data we do data analysis, and now we have figured out so there is a baseline for each cow. So not all cow temperatures are different. So for example, like humans, 97, some people have base temperature as 97, some people have 97.5, some people have 98 °F. So for 97, the person who has 97 temperature, for if his temperature goes to 98, he feels uncomfortable. Okay, but for a person who is 98, 98 is a normal thing, right, for that person. So he is just comfortable. So but if he's so what we see here is that there is a small change in the temperatures in the activities that the cow does depending on each cow. So we do a baseline of that. So we first collect the data, then we do a baseline for each animal, and then we basically use our older data to figure out based on the changes, we try to figure out whether what stage the cow is in, whether it is having any disease or anything, and that has improved the times the cow is milking. Okay, the number of days the cow is milking, because the milking span is around 10 to 12 years, and out of that, if the maximum time the cow is producing milk, that much time the farmer will get revenue. And the cost currently is around 300 rupees a month for each animal, which is on the higher side, and we are trying to get that down to 1 rupee per day. That is 30 rupees is our target per month. Let's see how it happens, but uh, uh, that is what is something. So we are developing an app as well, which is a companion app with this, so that the farmer can see on his mobile phone. Currently we are doing only for Android, assuming that the farmers don't use, we are typically targeting the small farmers who have around 10-15 cows at max. So they will see on their mobile device health of each cow. If there is an alert, if some cow is showing abnormal behavior, then they can basically contact the veterinarian and get the cow checked and so on. So now a lot of things can emerge from this. Okay, we are doing pilot with 2 or 3 goshalas,
But a lot of things can emerge from this if we collect enough data, right? Currently, it's a research project, but let's say if someone wants to do a startup in this area, so if we collect enough data, then that data can be anonymized and sold to some say pharmaceutical companies, like veterinary pharmaceutical companies or doctors. We can connect doctors with that. We can connect veterinary pharmacists with that. Right? We can connect direct consumers of milk with that. We can give ratings to the milk from each goshala, and depending on the rating, you can charge the rates that you decide. Okay, so if the rating is high, maybe you can charge more for your milk than the person whose rating is low. Right? You can go in the within the you can map the geographical distance that I can deliver milk only in 2 kilometers area from my house. So all these things can be done. There is ample scope. Not only that, we can also track diseases, and if there's a lot of diseases, say like for example, recently lumpy skin disease was creating havoc across India for some time, or foot and mouth disease of cows. So such things can be done. This can also be extended to other things like pigs farming, fish farming, sheep and goat farming, right? Chicken farming. So farming with other things, allied activities. So that is a huge area that is currently untapped. Okay, and there are a lot of startups which are only focusing on cows as of now, and that too, device which is either put on in the neck, in the legs, or on the ear. They are very sensitive, and these sensors now you get very cheap, like 50 rupees, 20, 50 rupees, 60 rupees, you get one sensor, right? So along with battery and everything and fixtures and all, one sensor costs around 300 to 400 rupees. So it is not costly, and if you buy in bulk, it will be even cheaper. So these are all the developments that are happening, and people are selling services, people are selling devices, people are doing a lot of research, and so this is a niche area. In the last 2 3 years, it has come up, and lot of data is being collected for cows, especially cows and buffaloes. But the same thing can happen for goats, for pigs, for chickens, for even some other birds like ducks, and those are basically the fish. Fish farming is also big in some areas. Um, so that is all that is happening. But this is currently, we are just scratched the surface, in the sense that there are a lot of unknowns. We also don't know what is the possibility, what can be done, and the farmers are ready to pay 1 rupee per day per cow. That we have seen. Okay, even they are ready to pay 2 rupees per day per cow, but not more than that. Otherwise, it becomes very costly. So that is something that is happening. And Sachin sir, I don't know whether he will talk about it or not. We are doing a pilot, and we are having this pilot done in 2 3 koshas in and around Nagpur, and we are getting good results. We are getting some positive results, and we are trying to the number of manpower required per goshala has come down because of this, and so that has resulted in some savings. Okay, it is not just the cost. So earlier, 2 3 persons used to be required typically in the night. Now that goes down to 1%, right, or even 0%, because the alerts anyway you get on your mobile. So such things are happening, and but again, as I told you, this is completely, as far as India is concerned, this is a very niche area. But this automated animal farming is happening in a large scale in the Western world. Okay, in the Western world, they do industrialized animal farming. So they have typically the Western world, most of the Western world eat eats cow. Okay, so they fix the cow in a very small place. Okay, and that cow is not allowed to move around, or so it's a very unethical way of doing these things, but that is how it is done. And it is monitored. They have cameras, they have sensors, everything. And obviously the milk is produced, and after the milk is produced, other things are done, which we don't want to talk about. But then animal farming, like farming along with animals, zoonotic diseases, these are all open for research in ICT. So if you remember, the COVID is the zoonotic disease. Zoonotic disease meaning a disease which has a virus or a bacteria which has jumps from another species to human species. So we know that this COVID virus is one virus which has jumped from bat to humans, right? So there was a bat virus which basically did not do anything to the bat, but when it came to humans, we got this coronavirus, right? So those zoonotic diseases is also an area, like how does a zoonotic disease spread? What are the different hosts it requires, right? How it can be controlled, how it can be isolated. So all those simulations, modeling, statistical analysis, all these things are areas that are still open, and not much has been done in this area, meaning that obviously things are happening, but not at the scale at which we are seeing things for agricultural produce. Okay, so that is not happening there.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, sorry, it was a longish thing,
No
because we
problem.
are actually working on that area, and I can speak a lot about it, but I think I will let Sachin sir to talk about it. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Any other things? Any other questions? But this area is open for startups. Like, a lot of things can be done. People have to visit. People who have knowledge of sensors, who have knowledge of data processing, who have knowledge of cloud-based servers, Android apps, should visit farmers or goshalas, or these cattle farms, pig farms, uh, these hen farms, and actually try to see how things are managed, what all things that can be automated, what all things that can be optimized. And people are ready to experiment, people are ready to do things if they see profit there. So a lot of scope for startups in that area. And even fisheries is completely neglected as far as ICT is concerned. So a lot of sensors can be put in water, and they can be processed, decided, and then you can have even the logistics of fish, because fish again degrades very fast. So how to do a logistics of fish management, like once it is caught, how it is transported, and other things. A lot of things are neglected as of now. And there is a lot of scope for startups in that area. Okay. So any other things, or should we? Yeah, so basically on this slide, this canvas for ICT, I've talked a lot of things already. And currently the private sector is coming up very fast in this area. And they have sensed that it is ripe for development. We are seeing drone technology again improving a lot. Drones can predict diseases. They can take high level pictures, high quality pictures, and they can predict if there is an attack of pests.
or the fungus, or so by taking high quality pictures and then processing, a lot of things can be decided. And many a times the fungus starts uh, from below the fruit, or below the we can say a leaf. And from, if you just look at from the top, for human eye, you can't figure out that this leaf is being attacked by fungus from below. But the image processing software can capture even the subtle differences between the reflection, between the color patterns. So the picture, in the picture, even if the leaf looks good, it might not be healthy, and that can be captured. And we are seeing a lot of drone technologies actually being employed in the orange farms near Nagpur, and they are able to predict the disease very fast, and before it spreads to the whole farm, right? It is or it basically tries damages a lot of leaves, it is brought in control. So a lot of these technologies are being used for drone technologies being used for the disease control as of now. And also it is used for predicting the produce. So there are some merchants who bring their own drones with their own software. So they purchase the entire farm, okay, and then they purchase the farm, and that is how the uh, traditionally the farmers sell their produce, in the orange produce. So in Nagpur or adjacent areas, the farmer will have the entire farm which is having the orange crop, and then a merchant will come, typically from a city, and he will inspect the farm and say a price that I buy the whole farm for 1.5 lakh rupees, or 3 lakh rupees, or 7 lakh rupees, and so on. And then he will put his men there who will basically take down the fruit and then leave. So he gets some 7 days to use the farm the way he wants. He should not damage the trees, but he can take any number of fruits he wants from the trees, and then he goes to sell wherever he wants to sell. So here the prediction of the fruits is done by scanning the farm. Okay. Another thing the farmers are also doing by this drone scanning is basically, anyway the scan is being done for diseases. They also pick up how much fruit has fallen. Okay. And if they predict that the number of fruit fallen is more than the daily wage worker, typically one daily wage worker is required to collect the fallen fruit from the farm. So should the farmer makes a decision whether he should employ a daily wage worker to collect the fallen fruit and sell it, or should he let it remain and let it become one day a fertilizer. So he will just collect it and put it in a pit and make it a fertilizer of it if the numbers are very low. It doesn't make sense to actually employ a farm labor. So that decisions are also made through drone imagery, and it predicts the number of fallen fruits. So there is ICT being employed in taking this decision on whether to fallen fruit or to dump it to make for the fertilizer. So such things are happening, and drone is getting cheaper by the day. Okay, drones which were costing say 30-40 lakhs are now available for around 1 lakh rupees with very good cameras and very good software with it. And these drones are then shared by multiple people. They are rented, like tractor is rented to different farmers. The drones are also rented to different farmers. And the person who has purchased the drone also makes money from renting it to other people. So such kind of enterprising things are happening, and we are seeing a lot of activities in this area as well. So that is what we can say that this. Sorry, 1 minute. I think I lost it. Okay. Okay. So a lot of such things are happening, and private sector is moving very fast into this area because the technology is getting cheaper, the technology is getting standardized. Okay, and a few days back, John Deere, which is basically a tractor company, had come to VNIT for few years back, before the COVID. They had come to VNIT to have a collaboration. So they have a tractor which collects all the fruits that happen below the surface, like radish, like carrots, like potatoes, and so on, like onions and other things. So what they have seen is that typically, if the produce is round and elongated shape and so on, typically that is what the consumers like. Okay, so radish which is straight, nice, carrot which is straight, that will get sold in the supermarket. A crooked radish or a crooked thing does not get sold. So, or onion is not round in shape, but it is half semicircular, that doesn't get sold. Okay. So, but then the industry, like food industry and all, they don't mind the shape, or even the animals who eat these fruits, they don't mind the shape. So, the crooked carrot is sold to a restaurant chain, or it can be sold sold as an animal feed. But the street ones can go to supermarket. Okay, so they wanted to, while they were picking, take a photograph and decide do the sorting as well. Okay, so then the manual labor gets reduced. Then the manually you don't need to check and sort it. During pickup itself, you sort the produce. And for that, then COVID happened and everything went for toss. But those kind of applications are also coming to the tractors. Okay? And the tractors are now getting equipped with lot of cameras and sensors and other things which can reduce the manual or human labor. So, and private sector is moving very fast. They are basically farming from farmer communities, doing large farms, and they can actually employ these ICT or devices, or ICT interventions. So this is how things are happening, and yeah. So this is about this slide, but any any questions you have here? Or should we move to the next one? Okay. So if you see this ICT, if you see this, these are the things that are happening. There is disintermediation. The number of intermediates are getting reduced. Okay, that is improving the efficiency of the supply chain. Not only that, it is improving the profitability as well, because the profit is now shared between less number of people, so everyone gets benefited. There is Uberization that is happening. Uberization meaning that basically in Uber, you don't own anything, but you take services from the people whom you own. So now the farm, like I told you, the farmer might not have a tractor. The farmer might not have a drone. Okay, but then he is using those services by basically hiring those equipments or things from people who have it. And then there is expert system, AI, ML, and big data that is getting integrated. And as the days pass, more data is getting collected, more it is systematically arranged, and more it is converted to knowledge. Okay, and uh, that is so. Currently, we are at stage two. So earlier we had static content. Now it is dynamic and interactive, like with drone technology and all. Then we will have knowledge about it. So in the sense that what is knowledge is basically like the examples I told you, that there is an algorithm which is developed. If there is so much rain and so much rain this week, so much rain happening next week, then you should sow this seed rather than that seed. So that knowledge is from some people who are expert in agriculture has been captured, and that is so that process is getting happening. And the next thing is personalized, contextualized, insights driven. Is basically when this knowledge is captured and now you are collecting the live data, and depending on this live data, you take instant decisions. So those are the things that are the next step, and a lot of activities are happening. Currently, if you see, there is a funding winter which is called for startups. So startups are facing a problem of getting newer funds, and so a lot of startups are scaling back. So you must have heard that Byju's has laid off a lot of people, Zomato has laid off a lot of people, Paytm has laid off a lot of people. But you see that a lot of money is still flowing into agri startups. Okay, and there are many agri startups which are still growing. People are putting money in it because they are seeing value that is getting added, and they are seeing the change on farming, the produce that is happening, and consumers are liking it. Big retailers like Big Basket, the Reliance, uh, big players are liking those changes. They are paying for that convenience, that quality, that efficiency that the ICT is bringing in. So a lot of startups are happening in this area, and they are getting sustained because of the efficiencies that the ICT is bringing in. Okay, and so yeah, so this is what I think I wanted to say. Uh, so this innovation and entrepreneurship will drive prosperity, and with time, instead of it getting a linear, it will get exponential, because new blood is coming in the entrepreneurship. And yeah, so this is what I wanted to say today. There are more slides, but I think we'll stop as far as the slides are concerned here. If you have any questions, any doubts, any discussions to be done, we can do it now.
Thank you, sir. It is a nice introduction. Yeah, any questions from the audience? Floor is open for the questions. Nitesh? Gaurav? Yeah, Gaurav has questions. Yeah.
Sir, very informative. Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you for this informative session. Sir, I am having a very fundamental question that as uh, Indian economy is more dependent on farming, and most of what when we imagine farmers, uh, and it is true some way that the literacy rate between farmers is less. So involving ICT in this industry, will it help farmers? I mean, is it possible to for the farmers to cope these technologies in their industry?
Okay, let me take that question in a different way. So if you see that how many farmers actually use WhatsApp? A lot of them, right?
Yes.
How many of them actually have been are English literate for that matter?
Yeah, yeah,
In that
they
sense,
are frequently using WhatsApp.
yes. So why that happens, right? So if you see, uh, the first thing is whenever technology gets created, it is typically by researchers and people who want to prove a thing, or who want to write a paper, who want to create a patent or something like that. And they are typically nerds, or we can say scientists. They know everything, and they are not concerned more about the aesthetics, or how the way things are designed, or how the way things will work. They So this is the first barrier. And so what happens is that once that barrier is caused, when you know that these things work, then the marketing people will give demands. No, this color combination should be this, number of clicks should be reduced, this should happen, that should happen. Then there are behavioral psychologists also involved, who say how things can be accepted by the end user, and the whole thing then makes a product. And what is happening, we are currently in the first stage where the scientists are currently breaking their minds to make the things happen. Okay. And currently the venture capitalists like Omnivore, and there are many such venture capitalists which are actually trying to put in a lot of money to do a proof of concept kind of a thing. They want to be the first people to crack that code, the first people to make that database for a lot of different agricultural producers and so on. So there is a race that is happening, and obviously some people will survive, some people will perish, some companies will be get big. Okay. And uh, so what we see here is something like what happened to Apple, right? So initially Apple was a hardware company. Okay. And it used to make Macs, it used to make servers, it used to make iMac, iPad and other things, and iPhone and other things. But now if you see, Apple is deriving 90%, 80% maybe its revenue from the data, right? So it has become a software company. It sells the devices, but that is earning it less amount of money than the software business, right? The same happened with IBM. IBM was pure hardware company. Now it's almost 80%, 90% revenue is coming from software and services. So we see this trend happening in agriculture as well. Agriculture is currently a hardware business, which is like, but then and a lot of these ICT companies are trying to sell hardwares like sensors and drones and other things, which we can touch and feel. But soon things will change for that business as well. And when that changes, we'll see very sleek softwares coming in, some things that we can't touch, and that time and that day is not very far. Nowadays the cycles are very fast. It doesn't take 10 or 20 years to get to that level. Maybe in next 3-4 years we'll see apps like WhatsApp or Amazon or other things that are installed on farmers phones. This also gets installed on the farmer phone, and they basically do the things from their apps. Okay. So there are many companies, like for example Omnivore is a company
which is trying to be a kind of a connector between agriculture startups and the venture capitalists. So they have people who understand the agriculture startup. They have people who understand money part of it, like what the venture capitalists are looking for, and they are connecting, and then they tell how much money each company has raised. So there are many companies, and uh, which is the so they come out with many white papers, which is a good problem to solve, which problem will make a lot of money, and all those things. And they come up with newsletters. So I'll just read out one thing. Like this Nutreco is a company which acquired Uveca, another startup. Okay. Deep Rooted is another startup which raised 12.5 USD million from Ivy Cap Ventures. Then Suit 42 raised 4.3 million in from Aureus Ventures. Then Loop Firm is another startup which raised 3.4 million from Bridgewater Ventures, and so on. So they come up with this kind of. So there are many intermediate players also which have come in, which try to connect. So the venture capitalist funds which have money don't understand agriculture or the vocabulary there. The startups in the agriculture don't typically know which venture capitalists to approach to or how to do that. So there are many such intermediate companies like Omnivore which are trying to connect the government with farmers, with NGOs, with agri startups, with venture capitalists, and so on. So they have think tanks, they come up with white papers, they come up with policy documents, they provide inputs to the finance minister, the agricultural minister, they analyze the decision taken by this, they analyze the decision taken by different codes on environment and other things, and they so this is also happening, and we'll see soon this area will mature, and when that area matures you'll see easy to use apps that are that will be provided to farmers, and that farmers can use them as they are using WhatsApp.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions from the audience? Nitesh? Iswar? Okay, sir, I think you covered you answered all the questions, and it is very informative and knowledge gaining session, sir. It's really uh, that's the obtained the attainment of the course, and we really love to invite once again for physical mode if possible for such type of events. And thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And
Yeah.
there were good questions that were asked. And though basically I'm not an expert in agricultural area, but because we are working in this area, the VNIT has taken some initiative and is
Great.
trying to work in sustainability.
Mhm.
And I am helping out this group which works in sustainability. This is led by Sachin sir, who is going to
Yeah.
talk on Saturday. And I'm looking at mostly from the angle from 2 points. One is how the software is getting developed,
Mhm.
and second is basically creating models, the sustainability models. They can be agent-based models or causal models or some other models, some other techniques. Out how these how this modeling simulation will evaluate the overall solutions that they are going to provide. Okay,
Okay.
so this is what we are trying to do,
Sir,
and
can we thought of like retailer point of view where that lies storing and this type of things where the availability of the resources can be crops or
currently most of these things we are looking for, or even the startups are looking for, is not for retailers. It is typically B2B, business to business. So there are large businesses which are still available for or looking out for such ICT solutions.
okay.
So the things I talked about, like Big Basket or Reliance Smart, or there is like ITC,
So
then Noga.
basically, sir, these are the big players. But actually, what we are thought like we are in Uttarakhand and here hill areas there. So reach out of such type of big ends since almost not feasible at this moment. Probably
Why?
maybe
No, no. What the thing is that you need to figure out the question. You need to ask the question why.
yeah
Okay.
yes sir.
Then you'll see where are the bottlenecks, and then if you can clear those bottlenecks, okay, everyone is interested. The reason for working with large players is that they have a of system in place. Like they have the cold storages, they have the transportation facilities, and so
So
on. So currently large players are easy to work with. I'm not saying it is difficult,
mhm.
it is not possible, but they are easy to work with. So you can concentrate on solving the problem, then market. Okay.
Mainly, sir, in hilly areas like transport, one of the issues. But we thought of that. I mean, the villages which are near to border. So this is one of the hurdle we can think of.
Yes,
Okay, sir.
then yeah. So this just last comment. So basically, for such things, you need to focus on packaging. How
Yeah.
to do packaging so that the transport, mm, which is uh, which is difficult and it takes time. So the packaging should be such that the produce should last that entire transport, right?
Yeah. Gaurav, any question you have?
Sir, I was having this curiosity that as sir told us that he was already working on some pilot test.
Mhm.
Sir gave us the example of cows. Sir, are you using machine learning or neural networks for making such kind of decisions?
Definitely, yes.
Okay, okay, sir.
Neural network is just 3 lines of Python code, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, so it is not at all difficult nowadays to use neural networks or any such machine learning tools, because once you have the data, then it's just a matter of any tool that we can use, and we are currently not using neural networks. Currently, we are doing just baselining of the data, which is but simple averages and so on.
Statical.
But yes,
Statical.
we are doing just statistical analysis of the data as of now, not much. But definitely, we can go for such neural networks and other things. But currently, we can say that we have not reached that stage. We are just analyzing the data, looking it from different angles, and try to see what we can do with the data, the raw data that we are getting as of
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. It is a nice interactive session,
now.
and
Yeah,
I
thanks
think
a lot.
we can follow up now. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir.